Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to hopefully change our lives. With the Sichos Chelek Aleph, Parshas Vayeira. Okay, we're going to finish off the Sicha now, today, and tomorrow I think we'll take a break. Okay, so basically, just to recap what we've been talking about. So the famous story there's a famous story of the Rabbi Shab that when he was a little kid, he went to his grandfather, the Tzemach Tzedek, on his birthday to get a bracha, and he was crying. And the Tzemach Tzedek asked him, "Why are you crying?" So he said, "Because I read or I learned that Hashem revealed himself to Abraham Avinu." And he said, "Hey, I also want this revelation of godliness. Why can't I have this revelation of godliness?" And the Tzemach Tzedek answered him. He said, "Because when a yid, 99 years old, and another version is a tzaddik, says he needs to have a milah, so he's deserving of the revelation of Hashem." And this sufficed for the Rabbi Shab. And this is sort of the frame. So the Rebbe says, if I create this story, is a lesson for us. There's two lessons from this story. And we're going to finish off the second lesson. The first lesson is that it doesn't matter how old we are, and we can instill this in our children. And I heard that there's the sichos and ladies that talks about this, that we should get to even if we're a little child, even spiritually little child, we're not very baldas, and we don't have hamadreger and learn a lot, but we can still come and get to that point, to the point of even crying. We want a revelation of Hashem, and that's the first lesson. We should internalize this. And a simple thing to think about is our Yiddishkeit on fire, or is it cold, apathetic? Do I have emotions when I think about Torah mitzvahs? When I daven, when I learn, when I hear a vart, when Shabbos comes in, is that emotion exciting? And it's and not just for ourselves, but it expresses itself in other things. And if we don't have it, then how can we give it? But when we have that, it's attractive and people want that. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson we've been discussing is the answer to the Tzemach Tzedek, because the answer sufficed for the Rabbi Shab. What was the answer? He said when a yid, a tzaddik, he's machlit at 99 years old that he needs to have a bris, he's deserving a revelation of Lukus. And this is the second bite. That in order to have that demand is good, but in order for that demand to happen, to be real and to have that, and to be zeichet to such revelation, it's not just that I want it, but we also have to realize that we need to work on ourselves. And this is the bite. Avraham Avinu, think about it. Avraham Avinu is 99 years old. He's been learning, for many years. He's been arranging all the good things. Working on 90 years old, like we learned in the Sikha. When it comes to 100, like his mace and bottom in Elam. And the Rebbe explained, what does it mean? It means that be'etzem, he's worked on himself. He's told when you get to 100, it means you've worked on yourself. What does it mean? You mace bottom in Elam. You have no shaykhs to the world anymore. The world doesn't make a difference to you. Like we learned in Tanya in the last few days, and Tzaddik's life is a Yeira. It's not the Danishes. So you see a whole different world. The Tzaddik doesn't get upset when someone says something to him. He's above that. And this is sort of what we're saying, that Avraham Avinu is on 99 years old, meaning he's working himself so much till it's nearly complete, but there's still something to work on. And he says, I need to have a bris. Bris doesn't mean just a physical bris, but it means the excess that I have things that are not necessary that I need to work on. Even when he's 9 years old and he says this, that's deserving of revelation of Lukus. Like you see, you said, like the Rebbe says, even by the Rashab, like he learned how to turn off the hearing, that Avram, after the bris, reached this level, he had full control over his body, even his ear, that he was listening to, and he was trying to say a maimon, and someone was disturbing him, so he turned off the koach hashmiya, the power of hearing from his ear, and then it's only a few days later, he's like, hey, I can't hear. And he figured out after a while that it was because of that person in the Farang and in the Maimah that was talking in the next door. And he had that control. And that's what a tzaddik is. And even someone like that, the Rebbe says, that he has that control, but he still realizes there's something to work on. And he's saying, but why? Why do I have to work on? Like, I have to always be working. I'm good. I've done everything. We're saying, but there's a little bit. Even if there's a little bit, that ultimately can come down and express itself in something not good, and it's important to realize that with this information, it's very important to not get caught up in I'm not good enough, and Chassidus telling me I'm never going to be good enough. It's not saying that. it's just saying that you have to realize that you can do more, do better. The way to look at it is I'm good and I should do better. I'm not good enough, and if I do these things, then I become hopefully good enough. That's a very important caveat to this. Many years I used to learn Chassidus this way, and a lot of people do still learn Chassidus this way. I think this is saying, you see, you're not good enough. That even if you're going to work your whole life, you're going to be 90 years old, you're still not good enough. That's not what it's saying. It's saying you're good, and that's why you should work on yourself, and you should express all the goodness that you have. And don't satisfy yourself second best. Be the best you can. And that's why he said, when am I actually reach that level? That I have the ability to reach for the stars. And that's what we're saying. And just to finish it off. Yes, Arcane. So, and that's what we're saying. So when a person recognizes where they're holding and they realize that they should have a bris in the spiritual sense, that there's still what to work on, that's the hachana, that's the preface to having that revelation. Meaning the Rebbe is saying it's not enough just to say, hey, I want a revelation of godliness. That's good and that's great, and we should all have that. But together that we have to also realize the answer to the Tzemach Tzedek is answering us. You could say like this: where we should be asking the question, I want to have a revelation of godliness. And what is the Tzemach Tzedek answering you? That's great. The only thing you need is to recognize that you need to work on yourself. That there's what to do. That even Avraham Avinu, working his whole life, he said, I have something to work on. I have to keep on. I'm not complete, and I want to keep on working. And that's sort of the key. Yeah. Yes, I can even more than this. So when you do this, when you work on yourself, and you take control of your life, and then hopefully, ultimately, you'll have control of all your senses, and you have control of how you react to things. A simple example: how to react to something. If someone says something, you get all fired up, get all angry, and you scream at them. And take control. You're working on having that control. When you have this, and when you have that control over your life and over your choice that you make, and you have the self-control not to eat what you shouldn't be eating, and going to bed on time when you should be, and speaking nicely to your kids, and speaking nicely to yourself and to your spouse, and things like that, you can get to the point that even on the things that normally you can't, you can have control over them. Yes, okay, even more than this. Not just you'll be able to have control over you, of yourself, and your choices and the decisions you're making, but even on your portion in the world. And we'll explain what this means. This is the stick line. It says in the Maimer, regards to tzaddikim, that through controlling themselves, working on themselves, they can even control the world around them. So too with us. We have control over all our senses. Then that causes you to be able to have the ability to rule over your portion of the world. And anything that you need for serving Hashem, you become the master over it. Both in children, in sustenance, in health, and all of it in abundance. And he's saying it's very, very, very powerful statement that when we take control of our lives, we take control of ourselves, and we're not just given over to our taivas, hayetzim, and whatever feelings and emotions, but we have self-control, and we take control of our lives. Not just we take control of our own personal lives, we take control over the world around us. That world that we come in contact with is different. I'll give a simple example. My father is a maintenance engineer, and he used to work, and he still works in this company. So he fixes the machines. A lot of time he's on the floor where the simple workers are, and he fixes all machines. So he's walking around. He works on the whole, all these places fixing stuff. And he told me that when he walks, so when you go on the floor, which is like a lot of the simple workers are, they're rough people, and sometimes they speak not a good language, but they know that when he's there, he speaks respectfully, and no one swears, and no one speaks not nicely. And it's not so much that he came around and he said, "Oh, you have to speak nice when I'm here. I speak nice to him," but because he worked on controlling himself, so the world around him follows suit, and they see and they feel it, and then they sense it, and they say, "Hey, we have to be respectful." And this is sort of what we're saying. That it's like the famous story about a person trying to see who's the strongest and like who's the greatest, and he realized if I take care of myself, it can affect everything else. And this is really important in life. We look a lot of times it's easy, and it is very easy, and we all probably do this. Is you look at someone else and this is not good enough, it's not good enough. But we have to realize is that there's plenty in ourselves, our own perkalach that we have to work on, have to look at. And when we work on ourselves, and this is sort of the key, that when we start to work on ourselves, you'll see how the world around you conforms to that reality. If you live a Geulah reality, then the world around you lives that Geulah reality. And that's what we're saying here. So Mitzvah Hashem should be by all of us that we should work on ourselves, not in a way because we're not good enough, in a way because we are good enough, we could be even better. And we should put in that effort, and we should have the revelation of Elikus. And when there isn't a revelation, it should bother us. When we learn something, and another simple example of that, when we learn something, or Yom Tov comes, and we should want to have that such a special experience on Yom Tov. And we should have this, and we should expect this. And we should feel just like we felt when we used to read books or listen to music or whatever it was that we did that made us, that got us emotional. We should have that same experience when it comes to Yom Tov. Yom Tov, Shabbos, learning, anything Jewish should be this way. Anything that we do. And if it isn't, we should demand more from ourselves. That it could be. And what it takes. What is it? A lot of it's about knowing ourselves and understanding ourselves. And a lot of it is about learning and internalizing what we're learning, not just reading the Sefer and closing the Sefer, but thinking about it. And this is the key to success in Chassidus and in general in Torah is learning and thinking about it and saying, what does this mean? Do I understand this? And can I share it? It's something I understand well enough to share and things like that. So Mitzvah Hashem should be successful in all this. And we should have an amazing Vayeira, and we should have the revelation of Elikus with Mashiach. Take it from Yad Mamish. Thank you very much for joining.